The lawyer looked me dead in the eyes and read the words that shattered everything. To my granddaughter Emily Thompson, I leave nothing. My stomach twisted so hard I thought I might actually be sick right there in that stuffy conference room. My older sister Laura smirked like she'd just won the lottery. My uncle Philip let out a low chuckle under his breath, not even trying to hide it. And then, this complete stranger in a gray suit slowly rose from the back row and said in a calm, steady voice, "This is not the whole story. Hi, I'm Emily Thompson. I'm 28 years old, and up until that moment, I thought I knew exactly how my life was supposed to go. 3 weeks earlier, my grandmother Rosa Thompson, the woman who basically raised me, had passed away at 87 after a long battle with cancer. I had moved back to our small town 2 years ago just to take care of her. I gave up a good teaching job in the city, put my own savings on hold, and spent countless nights holding her hand through chemo, through the pain, through the fear. I was the only one who showed up every single day. Laura, my 31-year-old sister, was always too busy climbing the corporate ladder. She visited maybe twice in those 2 years, and only when she needed something. Uncle Philip, 59, her own son, called when he wanted money for one of his failing business ideas, but otherwise, radio silence. Rosa had promised me, over and over, that one day everything would be mine. She'd whisper it while we baked her famous apple pie in her cozy kitchen, or when I drive her to doctor appointments in her old Buick. "You're the only one who truly cares, sweetheart. This will all be yours. Just wait." So imagine my confusion when the will reading turned into a public humiliation. The rain was tapping against the windows that Tuesday morning. The air smelled like old coffee and desperation. I sat there in my black dress, exhausted from grief, expecting at least some acknowledgement of the years I had sacrificed. Instead, I got nothing. $0. Zero property. Not even her favorite pearl necklace she always said would look perfect on me. Why would the woman who raised me, who called me her little light, do this? Had I done something wrong in those final months? Was her mind slipping more than I realized? Or was there something darker going on? The stranger cleared his throat again. He looked straight at the lawyer, then at me, and reached into his jacket pocket, pulling out a thick envelope. What he said next made the entire room freeze. I had no idea that the next 60 seconds would completely rewrite my entire life. But to understand how deep that betrayal cut, you have to know just how close Rosa and I really were. Picture this. I'm 8 years old, standing on a wooden stool in Rosa's sunny kitchen, flour on my cheeks, learning to make her secret apple pie crust. She'd laugh that warm, throaty laugh and say, "Emily, you've got the magic touch, just like me." Fast forward to 16. She's in the passenger seat of her old blue Buick, gripping the dashboard while I learn to drive, yelling, "Slow down, child," with a huge grin. Then at 26, when her cancer came roaring back, I didn't even hesitate. I packed in my apartment in the city, turned down a promotion at the elementary school where I taught, and moved back home. For 2 straight years, I was her full-time caregiver, cooking meals, driving her to treatments, holding her when the pain got too bad, and listening to her stories about the old days until she fell asleep. Laura, my big sister, 31, always had an excuse. "Work is crazy right now. I'll come next weekend." She showed up exactly twice. Once for Christmas dinner where she spent the whole time on her phone, and once when she needed Rosa to co-sign a loan. Uncle Philip, 59, her only son, was even worse. He'd call every few months asking if Rosa was thinking about selling the house yet so he could invest the money properly. Rosa would just sigh and change the subject. In her final 6 months, though, something shifted. Rosa became strangely secretive. She'd lock the drawer of her old oak desk whenever I walked into the room. If I asked about her finances or the house, she'd wave her hand and say, "Some things they don't need to know, sweetheart. Don't worry your pretty head." I brushed it off as the medication talking, or maybe early dementia creeping in. She was 87 after all. I told myself it didn't matter. I wasn't there for the money. I was there for her. The night she passed, I was holding her hand in the dim hospital light. Her grip was weak, but her eyes were clear. She looked right at me and whispered, "I'm so proud of you, my little light. You gave me everything." Tears streamed down my face as her breathing slowed and then stopped. I thought that moment sealed our bond forever. But back in that lawyer's office, the air felt thick with judgment. The lawyer cleared his throat, adjusted his glasses, and began reading the official will in a flat, emotionless voice. "To my son Philip Thompson, the house and savings shall be divided equally between him and my granddaughter Laura Thompson." Philip leaned back in his chair, a smug smile spreading across his face. Then the lawyer paused, looked directly at me, and delivered the killing blow. "To my granddaughter Emily Thompson, I leave nothing." The room went completely silent. My heart hammered in my chest. Laura actually mouthed the words, "Thank God," across the table. Philip chuckled again, louder this time. How could this be real? After everything I had given up? That's when the stranger stood up. And everything changed. The room went dead silent. Laura actually mouthed the words, "Thank God," right across the table, her eyes sparkling with pure relief. Philip leaned back in his chair like he'd just hit the jackpot, that smug little chuckle turning into a full laugh. My face burned with humiliation, so hot I could barely breathe. After everything I'd given up, the job, the relationship, the years of my life, this was how it ended? In a cheap conference room with my own family celebrating my erasure? I finally found my voice, shaky and small. "There has to be a mistake," I said to the lawyer. "Rosa told me she promised me the house. She said it was mine." The lawyer just shook his head, not even looking up from the papers. "The will is clear, dated 6 months ago. Signed, witnessed, notarized. No mistakes." Laura was already texting under the table, probably telling her husband they could finally upgrade their kitchen with Rosa's money. Philip started talking out loud about listing the house next month, like I wasn't even sitting there. "We'll split it 50-50 after the market value, of course. Fair is fair." Fair? I wanted to scream. I had bathed Rosa when she was too weak to stand. I had slept on a cot beside her hospital bed for weeks. I had given up my entire future so she wouldn't die alone. And they got everything? That's when the stranger, the man in the gray suit who had been sitting quietly in the back the whole time, slowly rose to his feet. He was maybe 73, with silver hair and kind but serious eyes. He cleared his throat once and said, "Excuse me. I'm sorry to interrupt, but this will is incomplete." Philip exploded. "Who the hell are you? This is family business. Sit down." Laura half stood, her voice sharp. "Security. Somebody get security." The lawyer looked completely stunned. He clearly had no idea who this man was either. The stranger didn't flinch. He reached into his briefcase and pulled out a thick manila folder stamped in bold red letters, "Irrevocable Living Trust, Rosa M. Thompson." "My name is Harold Jenkins," he said calmly. "I was your grandmother's private financial advisor for the last 10 years. She hired me specifically because she didn't trust certain members of the family with her affairs. She made me swear not to reveal any of this until today, at the reading of the public will." My heart slammed against my ribs. Philip's face turned an ugly shade of red. The lawyer's mouth actually fell open. Harold opened the folder, his hands steady. And then he looked straight at me and said the words that stopped time. "The house you're all fighting over? It's not even in this will. It's already Emily's." Philip's face turned an ugly shade of purple. Laura screamed, "That's impossible," so loud the lawyer actually flinched. The whole room exploded into chaos, and my heart was pounding so hard I could barely hear my own thoughts. Harold Jenkins didn't raise his voice. He just stood there, calm as ever, holding that thick folder like it was the only thing keeping the peace. "Please, everyone sit down," the lawyer finally managed, wiping sweat from his forehead. "Mr. Jenkins, you'd better explain yourself quickly." Harold nodded once and opened the folder. 4 years ago, Rosa came to me in secret. She was already sick, but her mind was sharp as ever. She told me Philip and Laura had started pressuring her, calls, visits, little hints about how she should update her will before it was too late. She didn't trust them, so she did something smarter. She created an irrevocable living trust and quietly transferred everything that mattered. The house, her entire investment portfolio worth $320,000, and every piece of jewelry she owned, directly to Emily. I felt the blood drain from my face. The lawyer was already flipping through pages, eyes wide. These documents are all properly notarized and recorded with the county. They bypass probate completely. The public will you just heard? It was only for the small checking account and a few personal items. Rosa left it that way on purpose, a decoy so no one would suspect or harass her in her final months. Philip slammed his fist on the table. This is forgery. I want the police called right now. Laura was already on her feet, voice shaking with rage. We'll contest this. Every single penny. This is elder abuse or something. She was sick. Harold simply slid a single sheet of paper across the table toward me. It was Rosa's handwriting, that familiar looping script I'd seen on birthday cards my whole life. She wrote this letter for exactly this moment, he said quietly. She knew exactly what she was doing and why she had to hide it from all of you. My hands were trembling so badly, I could hardly pick it up. The paper felt warm, like she was still here. Harold's voice dropped even lower as he looked straight at me. But the real reason she did all of this is in the last paragraph of her letter. I picked up Rosa's letter with shaking hands. Harold Jenkins read it aloud in that steady, quiet voice so the whole room could hear every word. My sweet Emily, my little light. If you're hearing this, it means I'm gone, and the moment I feared has arrived. For years ago, when the cancer came back, Philip and Laura started circling like vultures. Calls every week. Mom, you should update the will while you're still clear-headed. We just want to protect the family assets. They weren't protecting anything except their own greed. I knew the second I was gone they'd pressure you, fight you, maybe even take you to court and drain what little you had left. So I did the only thing I could. I met Harold in secret, signed an irrevocable living trust, and moved the house. Every penny in my investments, $320,000, and all my jewelry straight into your name. The public will you just heard? That was my decoy. It only covered the little checking account so they wouldn't suspect a thing and make my last month's hell. I protected you the only way I knew how. You gave me your youth when no one else would. This is my way of giving you your future. They would have taken it from you the moment I closed my eyes. I love you more than anything in this world. Be free, sweetheart. Grandma Rosa. The room went pin-drop silent. Every question I'd carried for weeks. Why the will said nothing. Why she got so secretive. Why she kept locking that desk drawer. Every single one of them was answered in one handwritten page. No loose ends. No missing pieces. It was all there, ironclad and notarized. I broke down right there at the table, sobbing so hard my shoulders shook. Not from anger anymore, from pure, overwhelming relief and the deepest love I'd ever felt. She hadn't forgotten me. She had seen me. She had fought for me when I didn't even know I needed protecting. Philip and Laura stormed out without another word, faces twisted with fury. They threatened to sue, called it elder abuse, screamed at the lawyer. But the documents were bulletproof. 2 weeks later the trust was executed with zero contest. The house became legally mine. The money hit my account. Philip cut me off completely and spent months bad-mouthing me to the rest of the family. Laura sent one venom-filled text and then ghosted forever. I lost the toxic half of my family, but I finally gained peace. 6 months later I stood at Rosa's grave on a sunny afternoon, fresh, white roses in my hand. I sold the house, paid off every student loan, and started a small college scholarship in her name for kids who take care of their grandparents. I even got my old teaching job back, this time on my terms. I placed the flowers down and whispered, "Thank you, Grandma. You didn't leave me nothing. You left me everything, protected, private, and wrapped in a love I couldn't see until the very last second." I smiled at the sky, lighter than I'd felt in years, and walked away, finally taken care of, finally free.